is lumped together. So, in a nutshell, civil servants and teachers are in a strike threat over 83 billion shillings. Why? Treasury has said that it will not be disbursing the full amount as Kenya finds itself in a red situation in as far as liquidity issues are concerned. Government there citing budgetary constraints. On the other side, just there at the bottom, we have Wilson Sossion, the NAD Secretary General, saying that the government and employers should prepare for stiff resistance from unions. Treasury and government cannot undermine what has already been recommended by SRC. But in retrospect is that the Treasury has written to SRC saying that it will not be disbursing the rest of the amounts. Jane.
Now, that particular story regarding what happened this past Saturday is also on the front page of the Daily Nation and has been captured in full detail on the back page. And here they go on to add that the police are now seeking to review the traffic management after curfew hours, of course, coming on the background of what was happening along Thika Road and many other major roads in this high infection area counties that have been put together. And looking at this particular piece, before we actually get to give you an overview of what the front page has for us, and this is the Daily Nation. Here they are now looking at how they can review traffic management to avert a repetition of what happened this past weekend to ensure smooth transition into curfew hours. Mr. Kianda spoke to this and said that compliance with the revised COVID-19 protocols in the Nairobi metropolitan area stands below 50%, which is one of the biggest reasons as to why we did see what we saw on a Saturday evening. He went on to say that the latest review in regards to the assessment of the implementation of the COVID-19 measures to just reduce the infection in this particular counties, that is Nairobi, Kiambu, Kajiado, Nakuru and Machakos, indicates that people have been willfully violating these protocols that have been put in place. Compliance rates, and as a result, that is what contributed to this huge traffic snarl-up that was witnessed this past Saturday. He went on to urge motorists as they are resuming their works today to be mindful about the hours and avoid being caught outside post-curfew hours. Of course, the Inspector General also spoke to this, saying that he did support what the operation that was happening on Saturday and still did urge for cooperation from the people with the police to just help us help ourselves, not find ourselves in that same situation. But according to legal and health experts, they have come out to say that this overzealous enforcement of the night curfew could actually lead to higher exposure and spreading of COVID-19 because of the people being detained. Putting them together all at once could consequently cause a spike of COVID-19.
Now, Jill, before we even cross over, an update that we're getting on our various platforms indicates that in regard to this curfew issue, and this is just to let a sister, an aunt, a mom know out there exactly what is happening. Now, there's a rapist alert by Afya Center Boda Boda operators. Apparently, there's been a spate of rape incidences occurring in Upper Hill on Matumbato Road area around Don Bosco Church. If you're familiar with that area, it's a bit very dark, but it's very poorly lit. The trees and all that stuff. The main perpetrators here being Boda Boda riders. Apparently, they pick up young women in their 20s there from Afya Center between 7 and 8. Because we all know there's a rush. You know, some minutes to curfew hours. There's usually a rush. Ubers, or rather what we're calling digital taxi services, some of them are suspended, they're not available, so it's usually a state of panic. So around this time between 7 and 8 p.m., these girls hop onto the Boda Boda, and they're told they'll be dropped home at a fee. Definitely everybody, they agree, and since the women are desperate to get home, on time, they hop on. Then they apparently tell the girls that they need to use alternative routes to avoid cops and roadblocks, and that is when they are diverted to Upper Hill. Since it is dark and a quiet area, they unleash a knife and threaten the women and rape them, then ride off, abandoning the women in unknown surroundings. One incident happened last week to a girl going to Ongata Rongai. And on April 18th, today is the 19th, that was yesterday evening, it happened to a lady going to Kinoo. So tell somebody to be wary of these particular operators. And I'm quoting from an update by Wanjeri there, just highlighting what is happening during curfew, Jane.
All right, so as you go about your business, be mindful of the curfew hours and take care of yourself. If you are in a place where you don't feel safe, you know, these days you're able to send someone your live location until you get to where you're going. So just share your location so that come what may, at least somebody can be able to find your last known. All right? Now, later on, in not too long rather, we're going to be having a discussion in regards to this particular survey that was done by Infotrack, and the general take home from this particular survey is that Kenyans feel that our country is headed in the wrong direction, and this is as deducted from this particular survey that was conducted. A number of issues were looked at, and looking at this particular survey and the conclusions is that at least part of the conclusion is that 3 in every 5 Kenyans think the country is headed in the wrong direction. And of course, some of the issues that have been cited to be redirecting Kenyans to think this way is that issues to do with the high cost of living that we have been seeing, the high rates of unemployment and job losses as a result of COVID-19, and also how the government has handled the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, we'll be getting to the details of this particular survey in not too long. We will be speaking with one Mr. Walter Nyabundi, who is the Public Policy and Research Manager at Infotrack, to shed more light into this particular survey and, you know, help us understand the metrics and some of the reasoning and get the actual figures that were captured in this particular survey. I don't know if you guys have this story on your papers.
Actually, I saw it on social media, and the questions that I asked myself, and since we've been having these surveys made public then, what was the sample size? You know, it's good to know the sample size that informs this particular report, because sometimes you'd hear it as from a sample size of around 2,000 vis-a-vis you look at our population, we're looking at around 50 million people plus. Is it representative enough to give views? So I'd also want if you to take time to have, you know, that question answered so that we understand where we're coming from. I know so many people have done some research paper here and there where you do your survey, but is it enough? Is the sample size enough to represent the views of a majority of the Kenyans there? Victor, I don't know. What do you think?
Actually, from the paper here, according to the result, the result of the findings from the Infotrack, 28% of actually Kenyans say that the nation is headed in the right direction. So when you talk about 28%, now the rest of the percentage of Kenyans still insist that you know, the country is headed to the wrong direction. As at 2020, according to the Infotrack, 18% talked about unemployment, and now 20% in 2021 talk about high cost of living. Now, you've asked a very good question. How is it representative to the entire nation and how it is? The situation right now is that most Kenyans are just living from hand to mouth. Most people have lost their jobs, of course, and perhaps this is just but a representative of what's happening. But if you go deep into the villages and start digging deeper into all this, you'll find that the percentage reflected here from the Infotrack perhaps is just but a very tiny percentage. Most Kenyans are getting it hard right now.
Talking about the high cost of living, and I'd want to draw attention to an article written by an economist and former Mandera senator, that is Bill Okero. He says, you know, the tax frenzy can end if the state slashes expenses. And if a majority of Kenyans are saying that the high cost of living is what is giving them a lot of anxiety, and we have tried often here to just elaborate, or rather make it very simple for you to understand when we talk about issues of inflation. So for instance, today you have 1,000 bob. Let's budget for 1,000 shillings in this day and time. So for a family, a normal family of maybe father, mother, and maybe 2 children, and probably a house help. So Can we budget for 1,000, Victor?
Yes, let's try.
Fine, tuanze. So a loaf of bread goes for 65 shillings.
Let's make it the bigger one, the family bread.
100, Bob.
Yes.
100, okay,
Yes.
around figure. I see what
Actually,
you have
that
done.
actually takes care for about 4 people.
4 people.
4 people,
Yes.
right? So we have 900 shillings, and that's a loaf of bread. We're talking about breakfast.
Yes.
So, and a packet of milk retails
For
for
four.
around retails for around 55 bob. So
55
let's
shillings.
leave it 60. So we are doing 2 pockets.
Yes.
And
Let's-
we're looking
let's-
we're looking at middle class. We're not going for the lower cadre. We're looking
Okay.
at middle class. Yeah.
Right.
So 2 packets of milk. That's 120 shillings. So you've already spent 220 shillings for bread and milk. So there's water. We assume you had already bought for a month, so that does not come
Tea
into play.
bags,
Those ones are already.
sugar.
We are looking at the basics. You're spending 1,000 bob in a day. Fine. So you're coming to work. Let's give an example. Where do you reside? Ongata Rongai, right?
Yes.
Let's go with somewhere where we are familiar with. So 220
Yes.
has already been spent. So transport in the morning from Ongata Rongai to CBD, that is around how much? It is around how much? 100 or 200 bob. So you already have spent. If for you 2 people, it means you've spent 400 shillings and 20 shillings, right? So maybe you say you're going to have lunch, 100 shillings for you both. Yes, and coming back another 100 shillings. 1,000 bob is done.
Now
in a
just
day.
factor in dinner
Yeah.
and lunch for the kids at home, if there are.
Yes. So if you want to talk about matters of inflation, and I agree with you, Victor, there pointing out, rather borrowing from that particular survey, the high cost of living. And according to Bill O'Carroll, he says one of the government big 4 agenda is manufacturing, which is intended to create jobs and enhance our competitiveness. Yet most of the tax measures are inimical to this objective. Remember, this is a conversation that is coming up in not too long, so we'll not delve too much into that. But remember, we are alive to your feedback. You can reach us on Twitter at KBC, Channel 1 News. I'm at Ray Manyara, at Jane Womboy, and at Victor Olo. Now let's borrow a little bit about, let's take a breather and focus on matter sports. Kipchoge is back where he belongs.
Yes.
Hello, after the debacle with the Ineos Challenge, then him failing to retain or the title then, but he has actually won at a time when it was needed most. Now the world marathon record holder wins the NN Marathon Mission Marathon in a final race before Tokyo Olympics. Remember, last week, government launched 100 days towards the Olympics. So he indeed did us proud there. The time he clocked is 2 hours, 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And that is what he used to, winning this move as Kenya, as a Kenyan great kicked to the win of the World Athletics Label Road Race there. So asante sana Kipchoge. Thank you very much. Kipchoge, keep jogging. Ama?
Kipchoge, keep
going.
Iyo wimbo ya Nyashinski comes into play at this particular point.
And he did not do it alone.
Yes.
From the leading results we have from the men category, we also had Jonathan Korir, who came in second, 2 hours, 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So gentlemen, you did us proud as we are counting down towards the Tokyo Olympic Games. We'll be watching, and as we say, KBC Channel 1 is your true sports partner. Now, talking about sports, Victor.
Yes.
How is your weekend? How is your weekend? How is Arsenal doing, Victor? How is Arsenal doing?
The mighty Arsenal team is doing perfectly well, but not so well. But we are doing well. A draw ain't that bad.
Please enlighten us.
But it was a
Who
scare.
are you drawing with? Were you drawing with Manchester United? Who are you drawing with? We are very interested to know the team.
Okay, we understand that Manchester United, the net in 5. We accept.
Victor, we are talking about how Arsenal performed against Fulham.
Let me save my coffee.
That was
this and
Fulham, please, let's be very, very serious here.
First
the
of all,
mighty Arsenal drawing with Fulham.
First of all, watching that game as an Arsenal fan, I had to sit at the edge of the seat, quite literally, because it was towards the dying end of the football game. And then now here we had one and it was a draw. Now, Fulham is a relegated, threatened team. So in English Premier League, they always say that easy teams ndogo ndogo. That's what they say. Arsenal is a big team. Easy teams dogo bring a lot of headache and heartache to big teams like Arsenal. Okay, Man U, we cannot talk about Man U, right? they're trying to get used to the environment. But honestly speaking, I just hope that one day Arsenal will get it back to where we had the Invincibles way back in the 2002 to 2002
and say your faith
season.
is admirable.
That was
in your
that.
team.
Do you know
Yes.
that the times you're talking about are the times for Thierry Henry? You know?
Yes,
You know, those
Thierry Henry.
I feel his conviction, Ray, and I'm not into football, but
If you
I feel
look
your
at the years
conviction,
he's
Victor.
talking about, Jane,
Patrick
that child is
Vieira,
already in
the
school.
mighty midfielder. That was the team, man. Hey,
Are you in denial, Victor?
You need a spare in organ.
no.
You
Are
need,
you in
you need
denial?
spare organs for this. But hey, can we talk about other teams, please?
that are winning.
Okay.
And for those who are joining us today and they're wondering why Regina is so enthusiastic, she's recently
Joined Manu.
new Manu
Like
convert,
14
and
days
they are
ago.
doing her proud.
Did you,
14 days ago, literally.
He's counting.
oh, you were counting my 14 days?
14 days ago. Like
Allah.
2 weeks, 14. Some of
Lakini
us,
Ray alisema wakianza kushindwa, boss,
yes,
Stanza
she'll bolt
kudecide.
out.
and I left.
But so far, so good.
Uh-huh.
Wacha tuseme, I joined the fan base when things were good. Wacha
Not yet
tu-
disappointed.
I'm not yet disappointed. You can say that again. We have some few games we're going to be playing. We won against Granada last week. Yesterday was against Burnley. What can I say? Can I say I'm a lucky charm? I don't know. But we're doing
You're
well.
what they've been waiting for.
Tuko tusa. You know, they just needed a little bit of ray of sunshine.
Ray,
That-
wait until you get 2 losses or 3 in a row.
But
Depression is
siwezi
real.
fikia mahali
Hapo ndo
Arsenal
utajua
uko.
kama yeye she's a
Yeah.
true fan.
You'll feel like bolting out and supporting Arsenal. Yeah.
Nijipate. I'd rather go back to
Utarudi
Gor
Gor Mahia
Mahia.
yako.
I never left. You know, it's still my first love. Gor Mahia is still my first love. It's just
Locally?
that locally. I just that they just expanded my horizons and included, you know, international soccer. Yeah. And I like
Sips my coffee.
please sip your coffee in peace. We're talking, yeah. The grown-ups are
Sips
talking about
again.
soccer. The grown-ups are talking about soccer. And I know
again.
we have a few Chelsea fans here, one of them being our very own director there. He's quite quiet. Maybe it's because walichapa mtu, but you know, since he's not here, he's running things behind the scenes. Watch out for Arsenal and Man U. Wadir. Fulham,
Wapambane.
Jane, Fulham is at 18th position.
Imagine,
in the
relegated
table.
threatened team.
And
Inatuhangaisha bana.
Arsenal drew with them. Yani, na ni
Aibu
last
kwao.
minute.
Towards the last minute. Actually, towards the last minute. Tuseme ball ingeisha at 90th
Walifungwa
minute.
bao 59 minutes. 59 minutes.
Wow.
And they waited towards wakati firimbi, yani iko wii, ndio walifunga hiyo bao.
Wah, enye.
Wamelemewa.
Mungu tu.
That must have been very heartbreaking.
We need to face some mountain
Disappointing
and pray.
rather.
Watu wako na roho.
We need to face.
Achuma manze.
We need to face some
Wana roho
mountain.
ngumu ka hizi awards tuko nazo hapa.
Kabisa, talking about awards. Unaona imekuwa katikati. Ndio maana mnapenda kuweka sijui ni karibie.
Ndani yako tu inaonekana yafikie ionekani.
Yeah, fikta haiwezi onekana. Well, we have an award in studio and it's about, you know, just
Here it is.
acknowledging some of the achievements that have been made by our colleagues here.
Celebrating our own.
Yes, indeed. Unasemanga
Yes.
charity begins at home. Yes, Victor is trying to display that particular that particular trophy. Our director is asking us to pick that one that you can see.
Hakuna
that is
mwenye
in-
anaweza fikia.
we are too short to actually get there. It will be
Okay.
a tall order. That is how short we are. So, but you can see it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. There we go.
Hey.
Hii ni sitting room ya ukweli.
Hey.
Yeah.
Tumefanya kazi
Ndio.
yako. Just in case you're wondering what we're talking about, this is the Zikomo Humanitarian Fashion and Music Awards for the best TV personality in Africa. You're wondering which year?
2021.
Yeah, last year, please. We're
Praise.
talking about 2021. And if you've not come across that on social media, well, this is a place to be. We have the details. The person who actually attained this is going to be joining us, and none other than Victor
Yes. Yes.
will be taking that interview there. Just to remind you that the JSC interviews will be entering the second week today. And so much was said towards the end of last week, especially where Philip Murgo there was seated on the hot seat. I think he was a trending item last week there. Victor, I don't know what you have to say in regard to, the upcoming interviews for the JSC that should be running this week. Victor.
Well, so far we've seen and we've experienced and witnessed the battle of the weights and the battles of the learned friends. And of course, last week was full of drama. And one thing that I think we have to talk about was one Justice Marete, who said, and some of the quotes, and the Kenyans were just so quick to talk about it, that he said that when he was born, it's the nurse who cried, not him. It's the nurse who cried. A special person. So it was full of fun, it was full of comedy, but it was also full of battle of the wits. Who was giving the correct answers, who was giving it a push to succeed former CJ Maraga. And of course, now that Senior Counsel Ngatia will be facing the panel this week as well, today, right? And Justice Ouko also, and somehow people have been talking that these are the two top contenders. Whether that is it or not is just a matter of the ASC to confirm for us. But it is so far starting to shape up. And Kenyans are appreciating. And Kenyans, it's clearly that most people are following the proceeding, right?
Yes.
Most people are following the proceeding, and they are able to gauge even the candidates. And people are also able to make their own decisions out of this. Right.
Absolutely.
Their decisions out of this. There's a caricature here before we bring it to a close.
Right.
There's a caricature here, and the caricature is of none other than Philip Murgo there on top of a camel. I don't know why camel there. It looks like a camel. I don't know if it's a horse. No, I think it's a high horse. Oh, I see what the artist there did, yeah. So this is a high horse. We have Philip Murgo on top of it. Then from the back end, thank you for your time in regard to Chief Justice interviews.
You will now get off your high horse.
Oh, yeah.
As we take a very quick breather, but do stay with us. We'll be right back. This is Good Morning Kenya.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye Quickbit ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitazama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka kwenye Quickbit ni la bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, greetings, massive and cool. Welcome to the Big Bad Show. This is the Rave, your Radio Mix TV, each and every Wednesday, live on KBC Channel 1 and KBC Radio Taifa. You see me? Listen to my radio. Listen to me. This is where we play the latest and the greatest from homegrown artists to international reggae stars. Checking the rave with Junior Dread and DJ Stano every Wednesday from 10 p.m. If you blink, you miss the link. Tonight on KBC Channel 1. Kuna nyumba ambayo wageni hawafiki. Sasa jana ule msichana jana naye nini ulikuwa unamuuliza? Sasa ngoja mimi nikamreply. Msichana yupo na kukula ulimi ya ng'ombe. Bwana mnaka kundi. Sasa usikae kikundi kwa nini? Sasa nisiongee na mtu yeyote ama mtu yeyote sikuje kunitembelea, si ndio? Wanaume watupa kula sana wake. Landlord hataki kabisa mambo kama haya. Hataki wageni. Yaani unatanga nyama huko, lakini renti ya mtu unamcheleweshia, unampa kile unataka. Kama una shida nigongee mlango nieleze shida yangu. Sio kupayuka tu kama umewekewa sijui nini kwenye koo. Ni ungwana. Gear up and maintain a healthy, fit and active lifestyle right there at home by keeping up with Gear Up on Channel 1, 5:30 to 6 a.m. Monday to Saturday. Gear Up every day for every moment, and remember to stay home and keep safe. Tonight on KBC Channel 1. What I need is something that can make Mariana lose her interest in him, and that rather makes him a victim. Let's just think about the speech you will have ready for my in-laws when we go to ask for Mariana's hand, huh? Mom is a victim here. She gave you the family you didn't have when you had nothing at all.
Not she shot. Amaya's been shot.
What do you mean she's been shot?
The award goes to
Purity Museo from Kenya is the next recipient. I'm salivating. I'm salivating. You are most welcome, my dear. Just hold on.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you to my family. Thank you to Kenyans. Thank you to Zambia. It's my first time in Zambia and I came for this. Thank you so much. Thank you, Africa. And thank you, everybody who believes in Africa. God bless.
Hey, somebody was salivating, not in Kenya here, but all the way in Zambia. Why, Purity, why was somebody salivating? This was an award. And he said it like 3-4 times. I'm salivating, I'm salivating, I'm salivating. Hey, Ufisi in Zambia.
No.
What was happening?
I think it's because I had represented Kenya well.
No.
Was Kenyan.
Yes.
You know? And I think I also represented Africa well with my African look.
Yes.
So that's why, you
yes.
know, Africans, we make people salivate, right?
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How did it feel? First of all, your name is called on an international platform, kilometers away from home, miles away from home. How did it feel?
Honestly, you see, I was actually lost of words.
Yes.
Because first I couldn't believe it was me.
Right.
You know, there's so many media personalities, not even in Africa, even in Kenya. So for me, when I was nominated, I think I was okay with that, the nomination and the fact that I love to travel.
Yes.
The fact that I was going to Zambia, it was enough for me.
Yeah.
But then I didn't know that I would actually get an award, like emerge the best. I even asked them after the meeting, what did you look at? Like, why did you pick on me? Because sometimes you feel some things are so huge for you.
Yes.
So it was a humbling moment. It was... I actually was so emotional. I didn't have a lot of words to say. I remember I went back to my room and I was crying and I was like, is it
You're
really
overwhelmed.
mine? Yeah,
Right.
I was overwhelmed.
Yes.
Is it really mine? And the way they were celebrating and saying, yeah, you know, everyone coming saying hi to you, people love you. Actually, they were saying people love you in Kenya.
Right.
They love you so much.
Okay.
So I got to understand that indeed Kenyans love me so much.
Yes.
And that's humbling.
And people are watching.
Yes, and people are watching. Doesn't matter where you are,
Yes.
but people are watching and are able to
It's
identify
not
the
just a single award. We have got 2 trophies here.
Yes.
2 of them. One
Yes.
Lifetime Achievement Award TV Personality, and the other one is, maybe you can just read it for me?
Best TV personality in Africa.
Best TV Personality. What does these 2 trophies mean to you, Purity, and Kenya in general? Explain to us.
Yes, you know, this award in the list of the awards.
Yes.
This award was, let's say, this was the very last award to be given to people. So for me, I was just there celebrating people, and of course, I had made some friends.
Yes.
So the ones that were winning, I was celebrating them, and so these awards were coming past midnight, you know, for TV personality, and of course, I had been nominated in 2 categories:
Yes.
Best TV Personality in Africa and Best Female Dressed Personality in Africa.
Yes.
So the female dressed went to a media personality from Tanzania. But now when I got this, I forgot about, I knew, okay, I got one, it's okay. But then for the Lifetime, they just stood and said that now they have been checking what each person does in their fields, and from their achievement, they want to award them. That's why it's called Life Achievement Award.
Yes.
So from what you've done, so they're like, it's not about how long you've been in your industry,
Right.
but it's about how much you've done.
You've done.
Yes.
Right.
So that is what this Lifetime Achievement Award
Did you ever
represents.
imagine you're going to... My goodness, that you're going to come back home with 2 trophies?
Let me tell you, you know, when you're growing up, you usually have your goals.
Yes.
So I used to say I'm working hard to win, let's say, local awards, and then maybe later in life, I may be getting these international awards. But look at this, it's beginning top, bottom.
Yes, yes. Far away from home.
Yes, far away from home. Like, it's African first.
Yes.
And you see, for me, it was another humbling moment, because even, remember, I won a presidential award in 2019. So it was another humbling moment for me, because there's so many media personalities in Kenya who've retired. They have never received such recognition. And so for me, receiving the highest recognition in the land before even receiving any local recognition was some humbling moment. And so for me, it's like, let's say it's God's favor, because there are people who came and they didn't even get any award.
Right. Yes.
And I came back with 2.
What do you make of these awards?
You know what? When I look at these awards every morning, when I wake up, I say that there's hope, that hard work pays. You know, like for me, what I can describe these awards, I can say that one, hard work pays, and just put on the hard work and don't even look at what is happening around you, because challenges come.
Yes.
There are so many challenges in whatever we do. Nothing comes so easy. But as long as you put on the hard work, doesn't matter. Because there are people who say, Victor, that I'm waiting to be here so that I work hard. I make a difference.
Right.
But make a difference where you are. Because people don't look at the institution. They look at who Victor is and what Victor is doing. So hard work pays.
Purity, what is the secret? What is the secret? Why? How did you just beat all these people? What was the secret? Tell us. What was the secret? Because somebody was salivating the other side. I don't know. Okay.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
But again, the secret is loving what you do.
Absolutely.
I haven't heard of a person maybe being recognized because we get recognition from exemplary work that we are doing, and we can only do exemplary work when we love what we do. When you love what you do, you will not have to wait for your boss to tell you, hey, wake up, come to work, or you'll not have to come to work at 9 because you're supposed to come to work at 9. You'll find yourself coming to work at 5 a.m. in the morning when reporting time is 9 a.m. because you have something you're working on.
And this applies to all professions across.
All professionals across. So if you love what you do, actually these recognitions, they're just here to give us more morale, but not to make us do what we're supposed to do. So when we are doing, for me, when I'm doing my job as a journalist, I don't look at the awards. I look at what is my mission in life, what is the objectives, what are the things the values that I hold. And that's why you just focus on what you want, and when you don't love your job or when you don't know what actually you want to do, you realize that you get swayed a lot.
Yes.
Tomorrow you're seeing this and you're saying, okay, let me run with this opportunity. And you tend to choose what you want to do from what people have achieved.
Yes.
You know, for example, you can look at where you're coming from and say, we have a successful lawyer, let me be a lawyer.
Yes.
But from where I come from, there's
Yes.
no, I think I'm the pioneer journalist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did it just appear to you by the, you know, you sit here, do your job and go home.
Yeah.
You did, I'm so sure you never had it any wildest dream that you're going to win this award. First of all, what does it send to people out there, whether you're a young girl coming up, a young boy coming up, and you have a dream in your career? It doesn't matter which career. Yes.
Let me speak to young people. What I can say is that, you know, there are so many confusions out here.
Yes.
That you have to have, let's say, a godfather, you have to know people, that's, you have connections, you know. But I didn't know anybody in Zambia, or let's say in Africa, because the people who were doing the nominations were from the African continent. Like, Africa was represented. So what I can say is that there's an opportunity for those who put in the good work, and for those who believe in themselves, because you have to believe in yourself.
Yes.
If you don't believe in yourself, there are people who will come and say she doesn't read news well, she doesn't look good on air, she doesn't do this and this.
Yes.
If those things determine who you will become, you will never become anybody.
Yes.
But if you just block your ears and put on the hard work, you know, you will rise.
This gives a lot of pressure right now. From now henceforth, you have a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
How are you going to handle it? Because so many people, actually, Africa is watching as we speak.
Yeah.
We gave her 2 awards, so we are going to watch how she's going to perform. A lot of pressure on you right now.
There is pressure, but for me, I'm not under pressure.
There is pressure, but you're not under pressure?
Yes.
Okay.
You know why? I have my own goals, long term and short term.
Yeah.
And the reason as to why I won these awards, I was working towards my goals.
Yes.
So the fact that I have the awards, it means that my goals are right and I'm headed in the right direction. So I'm not changing my direction. Because when I'm working on my goal, it can only get better. I have better goals, you know, better things that I'm working on. So I believe whatever I'm working on, and of course it's towards support to humanity, and our job as a journalist, of course, you know, what we do is to make a difference out here and to impact lives out here. So I'll not change who I am. These awards will not change who I am and what I do.
Yes.
Yes.
This is just about a disclaimer to people watching. The hardest thing for any journalist to do is to interview his fellow journalist or her fellow journalist. It's the hardest thing, because I don't know whether I'm framing the correct questions and how she's synthesizing the question, but this is it. We have got awards. You left Kenya all the way to Zambia. How are you received? How are things down there in Zambia, and coming back home? How are your families now trying to absorb all this?
Oh, wow.
Before we talk about your workmates and the bosses around.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what? Sometimes you look at yourself ordinarily, but there are people who respect you out there. There are people who actually, you know, like they just perceive you in some high esteem. So, because when I arrived in Zambia, they were so excited. This is Purity Museo from Kenya. We watch, they watch Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, and they were even able to mention a few programs that we have.
That's encouraging.
Good Morning Kenya.
Good Morning Kenya.
Family Matters.
Did they talk about Jane and Ray? Or perhaps Victor? Okay.
Good Morning Kenya team.
Okay, all right.
You know, they watch, and not just Kenya. You know, social media has brought a lot of diversity, and people can stream live and see what is going on. And so, and you know, KBC is a national broadcaster. So anyone outside the country will first look at what is happening at a national broadcaster. So I was just like, received so well, taken to a very good place to sleep, and everything done for you, you know.
Professional.
And they say prophet is accepted better in another place.
Exactly, not at home. Not at home.
But even here, I'm accepted.
Yeah, we accept you. We accept you. Congratulations, we accept you.
Thank you so much.
The question is, the mainstream media, this sends a very strong message to the mainstream media. We have got the advent of social media, because even before we ran the story on air, already the social media was a buzz. So this sends a clear message that the actually the mainstream media is still active and alive in Africa.
Yes. You know what?
Yes.
There are some things that you cannot get on the social media.
Absolutely.
Even today, let's say some news breaking on this, some breaking news, and then it's all over in the social media. Trust me, even you'll go back and see, okay, what is KBC saying about this? Has KBC confirmed this?
Yeah.
We've had so many instances,
Yes.
and again, there's still an opportunity for journalists to be objective and not to, you know, not to follow the pressure that is out here. Like, for example, you know, in the social media, people tend to be not to be so objective. They are a bit subjective. So it's upon us as journalists to try and make these stories objective, be more independent, and I believe that social media is not going to replace the mainstream media, not anytime soon.
Absolutely.
Yes.
How many contestants were you in each category? For example, Lifetime Achievement Award, TV Personality?
So this one was picked by the judges, the
Yes.
Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yes.
It was, they were just checking on from the nominees, who has done what and what impact it has had in the society. But, you know, it's Africa.
Best TV personality in
It's
Africa.
Africa. Like, how many...
In Africa, not
in Africa.
In Africa,
yeah.
That's huge.
How many TV stations... Okay, how many media personalities do we have in Kenya?
Start with me.
So many.
Start with me, yes.
Yes, so many. So how many do we have in East Africa now? And now look at Africa.
Let's start with Jane, Ray, you. We have 5 already.
Yes.
It's a lot.
So when you look at Africa, there are thousands of people.
Yeah.
But the first nominations, they narrowed down from thousands, of course.
Yes.
They narrowed down to 5.
Okay.
Yes. So
it was quite competitive.
It was quite competitive from all African countries, all of them, the ones that you know.
When you heard your name, first of all, what ran through
I was shaking.
What ran through your mind, and you know the entire Africa was watching?
I was shaking. I was seated with a Zambian lady, and she told me, "But that's your name." We had interacted for a day, and I was like, and you see, they called my name more than once.
Yes.
You know. Because I was just seated there, but I was shaking. And then I looked, is there anyone else standing up? Is there other purity myself?
You forget about your name, like?
Yeah. So I was so shaking. I went and I'm like, yeah, this is your award, you know, best TV. And they were like, best TV personality in Africa. So
At that point, what just clicked in your brain? Best TV personality.
The first thing that came to my mind was where I'm coming from, you know, like my humble background, where I'm coming from. You know, when we were in school, we used to be told, unless you've gone to a school in an urban place, then any career that involves languages, forget.
You can't make it.
Forget. But then I was so determined. I said, I wanted to be a news anchor since I was a little girl. And of course, your family sometimes will discourage you, not because they don't love you, but they can't see any opportunity for you. When they have a look at who is on that screen, they're like, no.
And then they start comparing.
Yes. They're like, no, listen, this, and they make sense. You know, this person went to this university, private university. You are here, this academy. You are in a school that when I tell you the name, you will not remember the next second.
You have to Google. You will have to Google.
I'm not sure it's anywhere in the Google.
But yeah, for example, Wathonger.
Musavani.
Yes.
Musavani Primary School.
Okay.
So I looked at my background and I said, you know what? I think there's hope for everybody. As long as the difference, there's no difference. The challenges that people in urban or children in urban areas face are unique, and the ones that in rural places face are unique. But the difference is, how do you deal with them? Like, for example, for me, I knew, of course, in our school, we used to be taught in mother tongue, okay? So I knew I got a lot of work to do. That means reading novels, listening to how others are reading. And of course, even when I was beginning my career, I was not so good with pronunciation and all that. But you ought to work on your challenges, not allow them, you know, people, have you met people who say that I wanted to be this, but because of this,
I did not.
There should be no reason.
They end up regretting why.
Because so then there's so many people are not happy with their careers or where they are, you know, or, you know, and you know, journalism, I'm sure you know that. Journalism, it's a calling, because I'm sure you volunteered at some point in your life.
Yes, so many times.
Yes.
So many times.
Exactly. So you clear university, and now you're volunteering, and your family does not even understand why you're doing this. Or you begin at 10,000 Kenya shillings, and they're like, we invested our money on you to come and earn 10,000 shillings. You cannot even pay for your rent and fare at the same time.
Perhaps they might not even understand.
Exactly.
It's the passion.
Yes, it's the passion. But where I am, I think I'm proud. I'm very proud, and it's to every village girl and boy that don't look at where you are and think, my environment limits me. No, you're the one who limits yourself. Just look at what you want to become and work on the challenges you feel you have to becoming what you want to become. There should be no reason, no excuse.
Purity, this is not huge for you, but this is huge for Kenya in general, because now the whole Africa is watching. Not just Kenya, but KBC.
Yeah.
Does this confuse you more?
You know what? KBC is my family.
Yes.
This is where I spent most of the time. And if it was not for KBC, the opportunity, I wouldn't. Sometimes you may have idea, but if you do not have the support system, you will not execute the ideas. So it's such a wonderful family that supports talents, creativity, and gives people a chance. Yes, because I'm sure when I joined KBC in 2018, I was not the same person. I was given time to make mistakes, to grow, and to grow.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So KBC has played a great role, greatest.
What are the bosses saying? Just asking, what are the bosses saying? I hope they're watching this.
They're so happy, they're so proud. Actually, I didn't know it meant anything for KBC until I came back. Yeah. And they were so proud you represented as well. I have some recommendation letter on the way.
Okay, okay. We'll have to know the content of the recommendation letter. Bosses, if you're watching, we have the best here. The best is all here. This is a situation where Africa is on the spotlight, and it's... do we have any chances of the same award being hosted in Kenya?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Because we're just hoping maybe the next year's awards will be celebrated here in Kenya, because we emerged the best, I believe. So Kenya is on the spotlight. Not everybody who won. The best TV personality came to Kenya and not another country.
Kenya?
Yes, and not any other country. The Lifetime Achievement Award TV personality was only given to one person from Kenya, not another country. So, and it's TV personality. You know, there were so many different awards for actresses for, you know, every category.
Yes.
But this tells you that there's something they saw in the Kenyan media space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talk about that.
The Kenyan media space, or the media in Africa. You see,
media in Kenya, because Kenyans, we have KOT.
Yeah.
We have KOT, and they tend to run with the stories, even before us, mainstream media, but now the mainstream media in Kenya is quite active.
Let me tell you, and the Kenyans on Twitter have contributed to who we are today.
Absolutely.
Because you will, and I appreciate them, you will do a story and they're so intelligent. If it has some error or shallow,
they'll correct you.
They'll correct you there and then. And so because you don't want also your bosses to be saying, this is what people are saying about me, you work harder, you make it better, so that we always ensure, media in Kenya, journalists in Kenya, we always ensure, as much as there's a story breaking on the internet, we always bring some unique angle from it.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
So, for example, the COVID-19 story that has been going on, if it's not, Kenyans are not tired of watching the TV and seeing what is happening, as much as they can just Google and see what is the World Health Organization saying, or go to the Ministry of Health website, but they want to understand what is the agenda being set by the journalists, because they understand and they appreciate talent. They appreciate talent, they appreciate, they are able to recognize. And Victor, let me tell you, like for example, when you do a good story and your boss may tell you, oh, that was a nice story, and you'll find Kenyans on Twitter or on social media appreciating it even more. Right? Yeah, they are so genuine, and that's what I think makes us what we are today. As a journalist, you go back to your desk and work on that story, knowing if it's shallow, there's already a Kenyan. You know, some Kenyans can even do a story.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
You
just to fill the bulletin, as they say.
Yes.
Okay.
They can do a story. You saw the other time when the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, when they did the surgery, you know, you went to to their account and they had done the story.
And that led us live with that thing for 21 good years.
Yes, they had done the story, what had happened, the 5 W's and 1 H.
Yeah.
On Twitter, on their Twitter account. But that did not limit us. You know, what a journalist does now, you go to the home of this lady and interact with the family, and this is something that Kenyans want to see.
Purity, let's just accept the fact that Kenyan journalists are perhaps the best in Africa.
Yes.
And it's quite competitive.
It's quite competitive, but they are very critical.
Yeah.
You don't just say anything.
Does it come with the sense of freedom that we have? Because in terms of freedom, media freedom we have in Kenya, we have to say that we are enjoying that freedom.
We are, because you are able, even when it's a controversial issue and you may be approaching the leader or the minister in charge of that, they give you, they say something, and whatever they say, whether positive or negative or even declining, it's a story, and you will not be victimized for this. So I think media freedom in Kenya, like, it's also contributing to this, because a long time ago, of course, you know, the national broadcaster, we didn't have so much freedom, but right now we are free to tell any story as long as it's factual.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Hey, what? Norma, this is it. We are coming to a close. This is where we usually sit.
Yeah.
Every time you're doing your job, hapa katikati. What do you expect now? What should we expect from you moving forward? Because it's going to be an annual event, and now the pressure is on you, and the pressure is on me as well as your colleague, perhaps just to do best and to be the next TV personality come next year.
Come next year.
Absolutely. What should we expect from you?
What you expect from me is who I am, what you've been seeing me doing.
Yes.
But of course, there are always, like I had said, Victor, there are always goals that we have and that we want to achieve, long term or short term.
Yeah.
So of course, these awards are refreshing, you know. So you feel refreshed and you're like, oh wow, so you expect, of course, they're making me a better person. Yeah. Working harder and doing more.
Yes.
Because you know what? Kenyans expect more from me, and Africa expects much from me. Okay. So what you expect from me is that, you know, for me, I'm not just a news reader. I also do stories and all that. So I just want to, I'm a positive person, and I believe Africa has a lot of positive things to talk about, not just negative things. That is like what we see being portrayed about Africa by the Western world. So for me, I just want to bring out the beauty of Africa, and you know, I'm a health journalist, to just help the voice to the voiceless in the community. So most of the time I talk about health issues and human interest issues, and if there's something good that has been done, then I always am there to recognize what good has been done. So what you expect from me, of course, more hard work, sleepless nights I've been having.
Thank you. We are coming to a close, but before that, you have got your moment of fame again. Talk to your people. They voted for you. Now you have got all the time to thank them. Of course, that is your camera.
You know, Victor, I asked them, where did you get my name from when they nominated me? And they told me, Kenyans love you. You know. Yeah. Like, first, Kenyans love you, so they keep on talking about you. You know, when, for example, there was a time I think they had asked, the awards organizers, they had asked for every country, who do you think is your best and everything. That was like last year before these awards, and they were telling me my name was really coming up really fast, and they had now to follow up, what is this lady, what has she been doing? So it's because of Kenyans that they were able to know Purity. You know, you need to know people. I know Kenyans, right? Well, so
I should also know you then, if that is the case.
So first, like, I want to thank Kenyans for recognizing me and for appreciating what I do. You know, that's when they got to know about who Purity is. And then the first time I remember, it was nominations, and Kenyans were voting. I remember even some social media people from Zambia, they were always sliding on media, and they're like, are you the owner of Twitter? Because Kenyans were voting for me overwhelmingly. Someone just like spending the entire afternoon to vote for me. And you know,
that's encouraging.
Yes, just the entire afternoon, because after nominations, now going to for the awards, it was voting as many times as possible. You vote for your candidate as many times, as much as we'll be looking at other things. The votes will also count. So Kenyans were voting for me, and they told me I had like so many votes. Like the next person who was number 2, I think they were saying like I had over like 20,000 more votes than the next person. So I want to thank Kenyans for their support. I want to thank you Kenyans for the votes. I want to thank the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. When I told them about this, they were encouraging me, because at first I did not believe in it. There are always those doubts, okay? So they were like, you deserve it. You deserve it. Go for it. So it's from the encouragement from my colleagues here that got me out there and telling Kenyans, please vote for me. Please vote for me. And of course, my family. Like, they have given me humble time, space to be crazy, because they felt like this is all crazy. So thank you, Kenya. Thank you, Africa.
So much. Purity, we can talk about these awards from now until Gioni, but work has to be done. Of course, we're taking a very short commercial break, but before then, I'll give you a chance so that you can take us on a break. We'll be right back with Good Morning Kenya.
Oh, wow. And thank you so much for watching Good Morning Kenya this Monday morning. It's always a great pleasure having your company. I hope you are enjoying the show in the hands of Victor and Jane. And of course, we'll be seeing you at the other... I'll not be seeing you, but Victor, Jen and Regina will be back in a short while. Stay tuned for that.
Wow. Very good.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye Quickbit ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitazama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka, kwenye Quickbit ni bila bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini. Tonight on KBC Channel 1. Kuna nyumba ambayo wageni hawafiki. Sasa jana ule msichana jana na nini ulikuwa unamuuliza? Sasa nikotoa mimi nikapelai. Sasa yuko na kukula ulimi ya ng'ombe. Bora meka kundi. Sasa usikae kikundi kwa nini? Sasa nisiongee na mtu yeyote ama mtu yeyote asikuje kunitembelea, si ndio? Wanaume watupa kula sana wake. Landlord hataki kabisa mambo kama hataki wageni. Yaani natanga nyama huko, lakini renti ya mtu unamcheleshia, unampa kile unataka. Kama una shida nigongee mlango niendeleze shida yangu. Sio kupayuka tu kama umewekewa sijui nini kwenye koo. Ni ungwana.
The advent of the novel coronavirus pandemic globally has seen different measures put in place to mitigate the spread of the virus. With this, there has been an exponential increase in the use of face masks for protecting oneself against the virus. Among the people who have been using this mask, despite them being a barrier in their communication, is the deaf and hard of hearing. According to World Health Organization (WHO), hearing loss may result from genetic causes, complications at birth, certain infectious diseases, exposure to excessive noise, and aging. In Kenya, as stated by the Kenya National Population Census 2019, there are 918,270 deaf people in Kenya aged above 5 years. This is a significant number that cannot be ignored, and therefore we went out to meet and interact with this community to find out exactly how their lives have been impacted and how they're managing since the pandemic, as most of them rely on lip reading to communicate, yet they must wear masks. Abdon Nestor and his wife Elizabeth Agot live in Umoja Estate in Nairobi with their 3 hearing children, and through our sign language interpreter Stacey Dorcas, they talk to us about how challenging it has been since the onset of the COVID-19, especially in communicating with other people. We ask him if wearing of block masks affects communication among the deaf community, and this is what he had to say.
So it does affect, especially wearing of masks, because when you wear the mask, it blocks the mouth, and that's, if you're communicating with a hearing person, you are unable to see what they're saying because that person does not use sign language. So that's how it blocks communication.
And on learning in schools for deaf children, this is what Abdon has to say.
So with learning, for deaf children, there's really good progress. For hearing children, it will be simple. Even if the teacher has a mask on, at least they can hear. But for deaf children, it's hard because they won't lip read. So if the teacher, for example, is writing on chalkboard, then how will the deaf children get to understand what the teacher is saying? If I told the teacher is showing the back. So that's why it's very important for the teacher, while using sign language, you have to have face contact, eye contact, so that even if the teacher will miss a sign, but the teacher will show it through the lips, then the children will understand.
Our next stop is Kariobangi South Estate in Nairobi. Here we meet Maureen Wayego, a mother of 2, Ann Njoki, who is 9 years old and is deaf. Her son Wilfred Kimani is 6 years old, but he can hear. She talks to us on some of the challenges a deaf child can go through and how the transparent masks have been like a savior to her daughter Ann.
Anita, nilinotisingi huyu mtoto after 1 year to 2, akielekea 2 years hivi, nikiweka loudspeaker asikii, nikiweka hata TV hivi mtoto amki, nikimuita itiki. Nikateka action, nikampeleka akiwa na 2 years sasa usi. Kwenda huko usi akapimwa hizo vitu zote, akaonekana ni deaf. During this corona ni shida communicate na mtu huyu. Ama akiwa na hizo mask zingine ni shida tupu. Unapata mtoto anaangalianga lips venye una pronounce, venye unaongea ndio ajue, venye ndio ashikanishe. Akiwa hizo zingine itabidi ana struggle, but akiwa na hii unajua venye mta communicate na yeye na tuna go through. Hizi mask zinasaidia kuliko zile zingine. Na sijui tunaweza zitoa wapi. Na si watoto wengi wako na hizi mask. Na watu ni wengi sana wako deaf. Wako wengi, ukienda manyumbani utawapata. Ni wengi. Na sijui tunazipata wapi hizi mask. Hata mimi nikupewa nilipewa. Unapata hadi shule sio wengi wako nazo, ni 2 peke yake. Na watu ni wengi, wako wengi kwa class. Wengine wako na zile zingine au wako na hizi. Unapata hata wangu wako baadhi yako na bahati ako na hii. Yeye hana shida ya kushinda akitoa akicommunicate. Wale wengine unapata anatoa ndio. Unajua kitu ya first of all ujue mwingine na mwingine uwezi jua mwenye kuna corona, unaona? Unapata nashika hapa anajiguza yeye mwenyewe. Unashindwa mtu anatoa wapi ugonjwa, lakini ni ile kushikashika. But akiwa na hii, akiwa ameweka atashinda kitu ama kijiguza.
Our search for benefits of these transparent masks takes us to Homa Bay County, where we meet another parent whose daughter, a deaf child, has benefited especially in school from using the transparent masks. This is Triza Amambo, also a mother of 2 children, Blessing Waka, a 9-year-old girl who was born deaf, and her sister Precious Amunga, who is not deaf. Triza did not know Blessing was deaf until she was 6 months old. According to her, it has been a tough journey with her firstborn child, especially in communicating with other people during the COVID-19 pandemic that now forces everyone to wear face masks for protection. Her consolation came when a friend introduced her to the transparent masks.
Na nilinotice Blessing ni deaf akikuwa na miezi 6. Juu daktari ndienda kwa daktari akaniambia mtoto ni deaf na itabidi ukubali ni deaf. So akaniambia ningoje ikifika miaka 5 niende waniandikie barua ya kumpeleka shule. So nikaenda St. Anne's wakanipea barua nikampeleka shule. Kumpeleka shule nikaona at least ameanza kuimprove. Nimeona improvement sana kwa mtoi. Then hii wakati wa corona nimeona pia improvement, especially vile hizi mask zilikuja. Hizi mask vile zilikuja zimeleta improvement kwa Blessing juu communicate na watu hata shule na communicate na teacher. Pia teacher ameniambia kuna improvement sana. In fact, kwa hiyo shule wanahitaji hizi mask sana.
Teresa further explains how the transparent masks have been improving her daughter's life day to day, especially in school, compared to the blocked masks.
Zile blocked mask, Blessing as in watoto deaf, hata ungewaongelesha wakajua ni nini unaongea juu. Most of them wana lip read. Kiwaambia kitu naambia sign language but ukilip read. Kama cup wanaangalia mdomo cup. So hii vile ilikuja at least iliwasaidia. Juu ukimwambia cup wewe pia umevaa hii na yeye amevaa hii inamsaidia sana.
It is clear that from some people of the deaf community that we spoke to, it is a double tragedy for them. The COVID-19 pandemic and lack of proper masks for their communication has been a big issue. Charles Okello, the founder and director at the Kenya Christian School for the Deaf at the heart of Umoja in Nairobi, saw the need amongst the deaf and hard of hearing community and came up with a solution. Special masks for the deaf. Masks that have plastic inlay around the mouth area that make communication through the lip reading easy.
Because you see, the deaf, for you to be able to communicate with them, they need to see the facial expression. If you are happy or you are unhappy, the deaf can say through facial expression. So, and they have the lip reading. So the blocked face mask was avoiding them from communication. So we realized that we need to come up with something which will enable deaf and the hard of hearing to communicate. So we come up with this clear face mask that enable them to express themselves, because not everybody speaks sign language, but if you happen to meet a deaf, whether you are skilled in sign language or not, they will be able to read your lips and get to understand what you are saying.
According to Charles, over 3,000 clear masks have been given to the deaf both in Nairobi and Homa Bay counties, which is the headquarters of the organization, for free. However, to audiologists, they are sold at a retail price of 200 shillings so that they can make some money to be able to make more masks and distribute them to other parts of the country, which remains a challenge.
Nikivai mask hivi, unajua venye nasema, na unaweza read my lips.
For Special Feature on the Deaf, I am Sally Limo.
Welcome back after that special feature. My name is Victor Lowe. You are just right in time for the Eye on Politics here on KBC Channel 1. And of course, this is Good Morning Kenya. And we are going to talk politics, matters, current affairs, and all other matters that is affecting you as a Kenyan and all you need to know the past week and this coming week and the coming weeks to come. With me, I'm joined by Dr. Pamela Gogo, who is a Migori Women Representative, and Honorable David Sankok, who is a nominated Member of Parliament. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let me start with you, Honorable Sankok, just after that special feature. We have got that feature of special masks for the deaf. What do you make of that, Mheshimiwa?
We had an international conference in which we discussed on the issue. Yeah, on the issue of mask for the deaf, because you know the deaf, for them to be able to understand you, they first of all have to read your lips, because really body language speak a lot. And for those who cannot hear, they depend on signage and they depend on our facial expressions. So we really had to free a facial expression of a sign language interpreter for the deaf to be able to read something from them, and that will make part of the communication. And I think it really informed why researchers went to work, and they have come up with such a face mask. And I think we really have to encourage our government that this is a necessity. It is not a luxury. It is a necessity for the deaf, and they are not very rich that they can afford. You know, the deaf will have to buy their own mask and probably buy the mask, transparent mask, for the sign language interpreter. And you know, it will be very expensive. It's a burden. So just as we as persons with disability don't pay taxes, so that our taxes, we are used at our taxes to purchase our mobility devices. So I think also for the people who are deaf, they require this mask as free, so that they can give, because the mask actually is not worn by that person who is deaf, but it's worn by the sign language interpreter. Unless there is a communication between the deaf people, then it is actually by the sign language interpreter. So it's a good move, and the researchers, I congratulate the researchers. We had such meetings, I've told you, way in February last year, before COVID was announced in Kenya. We also had a regional conference towards the end of last year as East African Council for Persons with Disability, in which also we stress on our partner countries to make sure that they purchase those face masks for the deaf.
Absolutely. And let me just bring in, and thank you so much, Mheshimiwa Sankok, for that. Let me bring in Honorable Gogo here. Good morning, Mheshimiwa. Now, let's go into the main agenda here. There is a research which was done, the research result which was released by Infotrack yesterday, and 65% of Kenyans believe that the country is headed in the wrong direction. What is your take on this, Mheshimiwa Gogo?
Good morning, Victor, and good morning to everybody in Kenya who is watching us this morning. First, allow me to do a correction. I am not Gogo. My name is Dr. Pamela Odhiambo. So Gogo is Lillian, who comes from Rangwe constituency.
Correction.
I am the women rep of Migori County. So my correct name is Pamela Odhiambo. Thank you, Victor, for that.
Thank you.
As we move on, before I talk about the Infotrack, because according to me, I will tell you soon what I think about it. Allow me to do two things. First, to re-emphasize what we have just listened to from that caption of the special feature. It is important that we communicate to everyone. And as a representative of persons with disability, I think it is even too late that we should be talking about this device now, because we realized actually from the issue of the masks, the mouth, nose, plus the eyes actually make somebody's identity and the face. And being a communicator, I know much of the communication is not even in what somebody says, but their body language. The face alone carries over 750,000 messages that can be conveyed. So when we cover the face to the extent of the mouth, the nose, and almost like when I'm wearing glasses like this, and if there happen to be dark ones, then the eyes are also covered. Then there is a lot of communication that goes and passed through. And so I think it is a right move in the right direction to enable our deaf to be able to communicate or to be communicated to through the observance of the facial expressions and even the mouth. Some of them have got the ability to look at your mouth and they are able to understand. I'm talking this from point of view that I have one of my last sisters of my mother who, due to old age, she lost her hearing. And to communicate with her, she looks intensely at your mouth and she'll be able to understand what it is that you are saying. So I think that's a right move. And in fact, the issue of the cost of these masks needs to be looked at. Well, it is not true that all persons who are deaf are poor, but it is important to know that this is a long-term attire that we have acquired according to the new norms caused by the COVID pandemic. And therefore, it is important that one, they themselves may be able to access it, because even them, they need to protect themselves. Whoever is interpreting for them may need to wear the mask. And even whoever is speaking to them, sometimes in the absence of the interpreter, may need to wear that mask. So it should be accessible to all who are interested in communicating. Like now, if I was to be in a public gathering where the deaf also are, yes, I need this transparent mask for these people to be able to get directly also from me what it is that I'm struggling to communicate. So it is a right move. Secondly, allow me to take this very opportunity, because I think this is my first public appearance since the KCPE results were released last week on Friday.
Yes.
I want to take this very chance to congratulate all the young Kenyans who passed this exam, and more so candidates from Migori County. Why am I very excited and passionate to congratulate these kids? With the coming of the pandemic, I think when the schools were closed, everybody went into a panic mode, including the very teachers who have been preparing these children for the exam in their schools, right from class 1 all the way to class 7 and that small part of class 8. Everybody was like, no, we have to do away with the exams, they must be postponed, the children are not prepared. And I think it caused me a lot of concern, and I took personal action to come out in public, and I even went to the villages in Migori, and I was mocking out the children, and I was telling them, please sit down somewhere under a tree and revise and read and get ready. I mean, you can't sit in class for a whole 7 years, and then somebody wakes up to tell you that you know nothing, at all nothing. I think that to me was a way of diminishing and trying to rubbish the work that we do on a yearly basis, only giving it to the class 8, which is last year, which according to me being a teacher is mainly revision and reconsolidating what the children have learned. I know I've taught in high school for over 20 years, and I know the practice is that in Form 1, 2, and 3, we cover most of what is being done or needs to be done. So by the time we go to Form 4, it is majorly a few topics here and there, and then majorly revision. This is what the practice has been in Kenya. So I thank these children that they braved the panic, the situation, and they have passed well. I think even in Migori County, I have quite a number of children who scored 400 and above. And even though I never saw any of their names in the newspapers, which was very discouraging, everybody thought that there was no candidates who passed the exams in Migori. But I'm here to congratulate them and the entire Kenya. I want to encourage these children, even as they move on. I think counselors need to encourage these children to make them not feel like, oh, they missed something and they did the exam when there was a pandemic, so they are, you know, a clumsy lot. That no. I know these children are able to perform, and as we look forward to ushering them in Form 1, especially under the 100% transition, let us encourage all our children nationwide to be up to the standard. I mean, let them do what they can do to make them a people. After all, learning is not just for passing exams. Learning is for a lifelong venture, a skill, a competence, knowledge that you can use as an adult in your future. So congratulations, girls and boys. Having said that, you are asking me about this info track.
For the info track, 65% of Kenyans saying that the country is headed in the wrong direction.
Yes, 65%. I think it may be wiser if we were to discuss this thing bit by bit, like in what aspect is the country heading to the wrong direction. Surely, with the onset of the pandemic last year, the truth is so many things have had to be suspended or to be done abruptly and rescheduled and this and that. So by and large, yes, it may appear like the country is going to the wrong direction. But the question is, with the ongoings and the deaths that even today I know, the media fraternity, we are being told still that the infections, the positivity of the people is on the increase. We are still seeing people dying. There are so many things that have happened which ought to have not happened in this country if it were not for the pandemic. So I really don't feel confident that this verdict of the 65% is really something very, very objective that we can go by and say that our country is actually heading to the wrong direction. We know our economic plans, our businesses have been disrupted, and with that, you can't imagine our economy going on as usual. We have seen with the lockdowns, we have seen our workers, some of them are sent home because the employers no longer have any work to do. And even if they had work to do, it cannot be done. Of course, they have work to do, but they cannot be paid because it is from that work that they generate money to pay. So everything has been affected. And therefore, if we are saying the country is going in the wrong direction, in what aspect and why? And I think what I'm seeing here, even in politics, administration, things have had to go slow. In offices, government offices and private offices, workers have been advised to stay at home. So even if you wanted something done, it has had to slacken. It has had to go slow. It has had to wait. And therefore, I think, in a nutshell, I think this information, I wonder, the timeliness and the intention, what is it intended to solve? Because the truth is, until we deal with the pandemic, until we are sure that Kenyans are safe when they go about their business as usual, then definitely things are going wrong. They can't be right. I don't want to stay at home. I don't like the case of the children that I've just talked about. There was no parent or even the government did not want the children to stay at home, but for the sake of their health and life, they have had to stay at home. We have had to go online. We have had to incur more expenses in trying to keep on with the internet. Like now I'm talking to you, nobody has given me the money to buy the internet and keep myself online. You know, it is going wrong for everybody and everywhere. So it is only obvious. I don't know what exactly this particular research and the results thereof released yesterday are meant to say and what their intent is supposed to be.
Right. Let me bring in Honorable Sankok on this one. 51% say that the country is heading the wrong direction in terms of lack of employment, and of course, lack of employment and high cost of living. Honorable Sankok, does this really ring a bell with 51% of Kenyans saying that unemployment and high cost of living is taking a toll on them?
Thank you very much, Victor. And you know, you are the moderator and you have given us time sometimes to go a bit off the topic. So I will also congratulate all KCPE candidates who have just received their results.
Absolutely.
And if I have to congratulate all of them, I will specifically congratulate those with disabilities, because as a person with disability, as their representative, I know what they go through, even to attain that class 8 level.
Yes.
Even to sit for that particular exam. I know that persons with disability who are in day schools, who have to trek long distances with their disability, some of them with crutches, some of them who are being pushed on wheelchairs. Yet sometimes it's sunny days or rainy days. So even the first lesson sometimes is taken as to dry up for those who have been rained on, because they cannot dash to look for cover from the rain. Some of them are in boarding schools, and you know, going to bathroom is a real task for them, for those children with disabilities. Some of them have their mobility devices broken, like wheelchairs and crutches. They have to crawl. And you know, when you crawl to a pit latrine of a primary school, you know, sometimes it's dirty and you really soil your hands. And the same hands are required for you to feed on them. So the self-esteem is normally a bit lower. The first lesson after going to the toilet may not be necessarily to listen to the teacher, but to soul search if you are a human being like the rest because of crawling into that pit latrine. So I know for them to struggle even to get 400 marks, because there are several who got more than 400 marks. There are those who are between 300 to 400. And I have spoken with the Minister of Education, Professor Magoha, who is a very good friend of mine, that this time around we'll have to use quota system. Any child with disability who have attained more than 300 marks is entitled to go for a national school, because to get those marks is not really a mean achievement. Yes. So I congratulate them, and I wish that Pamela, together with other members who are women rep, who have a National Government Affirmative Action Fund, and those with CDF, to consider as first priority bursary to all children with disability, because they don't have plan B. If they don't go to school, that means they will be in our street begging. But if we make them go to school, then they graduate as lawyers, as engineers, as doctors, and then they will be independent. Now, coming to your question.
Okay, first of all, just before you go to the next question, let me ask you a question related to education matters.
Yes.
The results said that most public primary schools performed better than the private primary schools. What do you make of this?
Oh, of course, I have always said, and I will still insist, that private schools are commercial enterprises. And in a commercial enterprises, I will sell what I have and what I don't have. If you come to my lodge, called Osim Country Lodge, and I may not have what you want, I will have to get it from somewhere and still sell to you. Private schools and even parallel degree programs in our universities, of which I was against the introduction when I was the SONU president in the year 2000, that led to my suspension, are private and commercial enterprises. So I think because of this COVID-19 break, and there was no leakage, and because of the strictness of Professor Magoha, there was no leakage. So now we are seeing the true reflection of the performance of different schools. That is why public schools have emerged to be on top, because public schools will actually give you what you actually read for. and you will do the exam, they will not. They don't go seeking for those leakages, because whether they perform or not, the teachers will still get their salaries. Apart from the little self-esteem that will be raised, they will still get their salaries. But then for the private schools, if there is an out of doubt of their performance, then of course they will not get business. So for them, it is life and death for those kids to get higher marks, whether through crooks or through whichever means, through leakages and so on. By the way, Victor,
yes,
all my kids go through public schools. I only use private public hospitals. I don't go to private hospitals. I don't take my kids to private schools. All of them have been in private primary school. I have 7 kids. They have been in private primary schools and public primary schools, yes, and public secondary school. Because I believe as a leader, I must be in that public institution for me to know what I'll do to better that public institution. But if all our leaders are in private hospitals, are in private schools, then they will not know what is ailing our public institution. So I really thank Magoha. I know it is the effort of Magoha. Since the time he was actually the NEC chairman, up to now, that he have reformed education system, we will now start trusting and believing in our public primary and secondary schools. And the moment we start that, then all our kids will be treated on an equal basis. And I really do congratulate. And I think these are true reflection of their performance.
Yes. Okay.
Now,
so
coming to your question.
Yes. 51% of Kenyans say that the country is behind in terms of lack of employment and high cost of living, Mheshimiwa.
As Honorable, my good friend, Pamela Odhiambo, who have just acquired a new name. You know, I was even shocked when I heard about Agogo. You know, I did not know she have very funny names. But anyway, that aside, as she have said, is that the question or the information that we have been given by InfoTrack or the results are actually subjective. They are not objective. They are subjective because if you do that research in Uganda, in Tanzania, in UK, in America, in Australia, you'll get the same results. It is not only in Kenya where people have lost jobs. It is across the board. It is across the world. Why? Because of this pandemic that have really brought the world into an halt. Our airspace are closed. Where do you think those people will go? Our hotels and our hospitality industry is literally stalled. So where do you think the employees are going? And if you talk of lack of employment, what about lack of business? Because even those who are supposed to employ are also crying. They have loans to service. You know, our matatu industry almost came to a stall. There was a time that there was a stall. There is a cessation of movement from the red zone, that is the 5 counties, to other counties. There are somebody like Narok Line Services, which was actually varying people between Narok and Nairobi, or Nairobi and Nakuru. So now that they are not in business, what about those people? You know, we should actually be a bit objective. First of all, see the overall percentage of lack of jobs in the whole world.
Yes.
The moment we start that one as a basis now to say, is Kenya below that average or above that average? Now, we will be objective in discussing. But a subjective result like this one that was released by InfoTrack, because I went through, I want to tell them they should go back to the basis of research. You know, they should not just come up with figures just to entice and for them to be able to be in business and for the newspapers to be able to sell. No. I think we should be more objective. We have to look at all dynamics. The dynamics of even our climate change have really affected not only Kenya, but the whole world. So we should say, according to the average loss of jobs in the world, is Kenya above or below? If it is above, then we say it is performing it is in the wrong direction. But if it is below the world average, that our loss of jobs is not as much as that is witnessed in other parts of the country on an average, then we'll say our country is headed in the right direction in spite of the pandemic.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough, Mheshimiwa. Let me bring here Dr. Pamela, and let me just ask you that the BBI team is set to begin a crunch talks today, at least to unlock the standoff between the two houses, that is National Assembly and the Senate. Is there some hard nut to crack in the BBI team, Mheshimiwa?
You're asking me?
Victor, thank you for that question. However, allow me on a point of information to let my friend there know that Gogo is not a funny name per se. It was just a slip of the tongue, having confused me with Dr. Lilian Gogo, and we have just corrected that, so we don't need to make a fuss out of it.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, as we move on...
Just a minute. Gogo in our language mean grandmother. So that's why I was saying it's a bit funny, because you are too young, my friend.
Oh, but I am a grandmother. Who told you I'm not? okay, so Sankok, that's okay. But in this context, I thought my friend Victor there must have confused me with Dr. Lilian Gogo, who is the MP of Rangwe. So, you know, when she hears you saying that I have a funny name because he has called me Gogo, thank you for explaining the context. Before the BBI, brother, I know we are talking about politics, but Sankok mentioned something very important in education, which as somebody who also sits in the education committee of this country and serving the entire nation, I may need to put a bit of correction. It is not true that every private school in this country gives young Kenyans a road deal. I think it is also good to give credit to where it belongs. The fate of Kenyans, including mine, I learned in a public primary school, and actually my children have learned in public primary schools, and all of them have actually learned in public secondary school. Everybody had a lot of faith at some stage in our public system of education. But at some stage, Sankok will agree with me that the standards of education in our public schools greatly deteriorated. There were factors, for example, you consider a classroom, one classroom with over 100 pupils, and they are supposed to be handled by one teacher. And this, in the past, has not helped these teachers and their children, and sometimes lack of materials and all that. I am thanking God. Actually, I really appreciate Professor Magoha and the team, because since he took this office, I think the first thing that he ensured was available in primary schools are the learning materials, especially the textbooks. I think congratulations to that. What I mean to say is that it is not that the public schools cannot perform better than the private schools, but I wanted to correct that the private schools have also done a lot of investment in partnership with the government, and is been providing actually standard education to our children. There are some children in this country that have gone through those private schools. Sometimes there is assumption that in every private school they are spoon-fed, their exams are leaked. I think I have a testimony of one of my sons who has gone private school, and this son, having even gone to a public secondary school where there was no spoon feeding and God, he became top 3 in this nation in Form 4. And in his class of medicine, he has again appeared top 2. So what I mean to say is, let us give credit where it is due. Even this during time of this COVID, the private schools were actually the first to make their schools ready for the children to go back. So I think, I don't want to belabor on that, but congratulations to our public schools. This is the way we should go. Public services should be much better than the private services, because our government, being the mother and the father of all of us, actually should provide us with the best. Having said that, let me come to the BBI. The BBI question
Okay,
Sometimes
Mheshimiwa,
I feel from a political
let me just cut you short briefly. Let's just take a very short break, Mheshimiwa, and then come back as we talk about the issue of BBI and more politics just after this one. Kindly stay with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We are taking a very short commercial break, and of course, with me, I have Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, who is a Migori Member of Parliament, woman representative, and Honorable David Sankok, who is nominated Member of Parliament. Let's take a break. We'll be right back after this break.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye Quickbin ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka kwenye Quickbin ni bila bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini.
Every Monday evening, we take you back where the action happens.
We cheer up your Monday blues.
Our cameras rove all week to cover the latest in the enormous showbiz scene.
We show you what you missed even if you are present.
Grapevine gives 100% support to the local entertainment content.
From celebrity buzz,
music,
fashion,
and all manner of entertainment and youth talent.
Watch Grapevine every Monday at 10 p.m.
Remember what they say, if you did not see it on Grapevine, then it most probably
it never happened.
For the interviews for the position of the Chief Justice, and today we have got Honorable Justice Nduma Nderi, who is going to face the panel at the Supreme Court of Kenya. Last week we had got candidates, and today we have got Honorable Justice Nduma Nderi, who is going to take that hot seat. So KBC Channel 1 is the place to be, and you are going to get those live pictures in a short while. Now, let's come back to our discussion, and of course, now let me go to Honorable Pamela. We were talking about BBI, and Honorable Pamela, there seem to be members of the National Assembly and Senate who are split right in the middle over the document for it to be amended further. Dr. Pamela, is it the situation? Is it hard for the BBI to go through the process?
It is very unfortunate. Your question is not very audible, so I've not captured all of it. But I think from what you asked me earlier, I would like to say that according to my knowledge, maybe I'm a bit behind the news today. I'm not aware of a split that is in the BBI or the two houses. As at the last briefing, hello, can you hear me? You are very faint. You are very faint, Victor. You are very faint, Victor.
Continue, Mheshimiwa. I can hear you. Continue.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Mheshimiwa. Go ahead. Continue.
Okay. I was saying that as at the last update of the two committees that we had as official position of what is happening, it is only that as they tried to do a normal procedure of public participation, there were quite a number of people who came up with reports, some of whom which were voluminous and demanding for things that needed to be done. So they said they would take time to go through all these reports in detail and come up with a very considerate report without leaving anything to chances. And so in the past few weeks, there have been a lot of speculations about the stalemate between these two houses and this and that. But I think, again, sometimes in these political matters, we over-speculate sometimes until we mark the meaning and of the objective of any exercise that we can no longer make head and tail because there has been push and pull. Somebody is trying to push and advance their interest in this direction or in that direction. But to me, I think the issue of split in the joint committee, as I sit here today, I want to be honest, I'm not aware of it. And if it is there, then it might just be another way of trying to derail this report or this process as we have seen before. And there be maybe really nothing new that is dividing this committee. Why? Because as I have always maintained, and I think this is my personal opinion and position about this, and which is also in tandem with what is going on about BBI. According to me, BBI has been a whole participatory process from the very beginning. And it was initiated, yes, through the handshake between Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta. And whatever they discussed and all the issues that they brought us, the challenges of following 2017 contested election, culminated into collecting data and information from all Kenyans, and which has brought us to what we are now calling the draft, which is before the parliament. And there is nothing new or nothing that somebody can claim was really omitted or ignored. It is only that this is the first time in history where there is an attempt to make constitutional changes through a popular initiative, which Kenyans are not used to. So there is this tendency of people thinking that each and every person must get their nitty-gritty into this document, and it is almost looked at like this is the only and final time that the constitution can be reviewed and changed, and if it is not done now, then there will be no other time. I think what I want to say is, whatever the scenario that is taking place between these joint committees, I think Kenyans, we must drop our selfish intentions and ambitions and look at this request of Kenyans objectively and review what we can review in our constitution, and whatever else that cannot be reviewed or included now, we can leave it to later, because it is not true that this is the final and the very last time that we can change our constitution. Even the parliament or even any other interested parties, the business community can initiate some talk and some move that can culminate in reviewing part of our constitution. And therefore, I think whatever we want to exaggerate as stalemate, division, split, to me, I still want to think it must be bordering on some just the old normal things that we have seen from the beginning of this process. We have seen people who rejected the thing even before they knew what was in it, and there would be speculation and propaganda and wrong information.
Yes.
Until we came up with the document, and then these people read and realized, there is actually nothing so serious to be objected to in this document. So I would wish that even as we talk here, let the official report from the two joint committees be tabled before Kenyans, and then we can discuss that. I don't like discussing rumors.
Okay. Honorable Sankok, what is your take on this? Because the two parliamentary, the joint parliamentary committee, there seems to be not so easy. And why should there be a contention here? Because it's a through popular initiative. Therefore, Parliament, or somebody would say, would have had an easier work to do out of this. Is there some people with, as Dr. Pamela says, that people with personal interests?
First of all, I think you have lost me a bit. And yes, it is true, there may be some rumors. And it is true that they may be having some problem as a joint committee. And panapo moshi apakosi moto. And if it is true that there is a problem with a joint committee, then for me, as David Ole Sankok, it will be my prayers answered. Because I didn't see the importance of the BPI in the first place. And I will tell you why.
Yes.
According to the 9-point agenda of the handshake, the 9-point, one of the points that I had that came out clearly that will address our electoral system was actually the issue of the electoral system. And in the BBI, I've not had anything that will try to address that issue. There is nothing in that BBI. I've really read through that draft. I've not seen anything that deal with the issue of the electoral system. I've only seen issues of leaders. We will have 70 more members of parliament.
Yes.
We will have 47 more senators, which is also leaders. We'll have a prime minister, which is also a leader. Deputy prime minister, which is also a leader. Surely, where did we address the teachers? Where did we address doctors? Where did we address engineers? Where did we address plumbers? Where did we address Mamamboga? Where did we address the issue of unemployment that is currently in Kenya? So for me, I really, in the 9-point agenda, I really don't see any. And then again, Victor, this is a popular initiative.
Yes.
And I say a popular initiative in quotes, because a popular initiative is supposed to be driven by Wanjiku. It is supposed to be driven by the citizen. The citizen will see that the law that we have, the constitution, in our finger, kiasi, and they will actually come out with specific articles of the constitution that is they feel is a problem, and that's why it is called a popular initiative. And it's not a parliamentary initiative, because in the parliamentary initiative, it's actually a government-driven bill, because we have 3 arms of government. We have the legislative arm, which is supposed to amend and to make laws, and then we have the executive to implement, and then we have the judiciary to interpret. Now, in a government-driven, is a parliamentary-driven because they are mandated as the arm of government to amend and to amend the law and to make the law. And Victor, if it was a parliamentary initiative, then that is when the proponent will have been government officers, yes, led by the president and led by the Speaker of the National Assembly, led by the president of the judiciary. But then here we are seeing a popular initiative,
yes,
not being driven by people, not being driven by the citizen, not an article in the Constitution have been said, this article specific have a problem. That is what we want to address. So for me, first of all, it had a wrong start. Then again, let's now go to specific.
Okay. All right, okay.
We were all of us told to go and give our points to the task force. So I went as a representative of person with disability, and I said where a person with disability needs to be changed in the Constitution. Article 54, I was very specific, that it talk of progressive employment of person with disability to achieve 5%. Yes. We said let us remove this progressive so that it will be employment of person with disability to achieve the 5%. We also say that at this era, there are persons with disability crawling in our streets because of lack of 1,500 shillings to buy a crutch. So we said, let us have an HIF covering also the provision of assist devices like wheelchairs, like crutches, because they are not even expensive. NHIF now cover the treatment of diabetes, which will cost 10,000 per month. The of a crutch that a person can use. Yes,
Mheshimiwa Sankok.
Let me finish up. Let me wind up.
Okay.
Let me wind up.
In 30 seconds, please.
That is what we are saying. And as pastoralists also, because I went to represent pastoralists, the points were not captured. And then lastly,
yes, briefly, in 30 seconds, time, please.
In the BBI, what we are addressing in the BBI is the issue of the electoral injustices that we have been having problems in every electioneering year. But I'm telling you, we have no problems as Kenyan citizens in every election. There is leaders known to be the single denominator of violence, those who always reject the outcome of the election. We have been having elections since 1963. And from 1963, there was no problems. We only started having problems in 1997 when a name of a single individual appeared.
Honorable Sankok, we are struck of time here, and because we want to go straight to the Supreme Court, where the interviews for the Supreme Court happening at the Supreme Court is currently happening, and we just need to thank you so much. We cannot talk enough. Mheshimiwa Pamela, you know, time runs very fast when we have enough time and you have so much to talk about. But let me just thank you so much. That is Dr. Pamela Odhiambo, woman representative of Migori County. I got it right now. And Honorable David Sankok. Next time you say Gogo, Pamela will tell you Gogo is a honorable name in that side. Thank you. So let's go to Supreme Court for that live. Have a good morning.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye Quickbit ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka kwenye Quickbit ni bila bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
What I need is something that can make Mariana lose her interest in him, and that rather makes him a victim. Let's just think about the speech we will have ready for my in-laws when we go to ask for Mariana's hand, huh?
Mom is a victim here. She gave you the family you didn't have when you had nothing at all.
Max, she's shot. Amaya's been shot.
What do you mean she's been shot?
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, greetings, massive and cool. Welcome to the Big Bad Show. This is the Rave, where Radio meets TV each and every Wednesday, live on KBC Channel 1 and KBC Radio Taifa. You see me?
This is where we play the latest and the greatest from homegrown artists to international reggae stars.
Checking the rave with Junior Jed and DJ Stano
Every Wednesday from 10 p.m. If you blink, you miss the link.
If you ain't going my way.
Our mother was a teacher, and her father was a headmaster, and I attended school from nursery school to standard 7 in the school where my mother was a teacher and my father was a headmaster. So the values which went to later guide my philosophy in life were inculcated there at very early stages by my parents, who were very committed Catholic Christians, and for all times I knew leaders in the church. And so they taught me values of honesty, caring about others, especially the neighbors, being kind to others, doing unto others as you'd wish to be done to you. And therefore, that was my anchor and my true north. I completed my school in my primary school there in Kiambua Primary School, which was, my home was just a few meters away from the school, and it still is. I went to Kangaro High School for my O levels. It was a provincial school, and that was my first encounter with Kenyans from different parts of Kenya, mainly from the larger eastern province, Machakos, Kitui, Moyale, Marsabit, Embu Meru. That was the setup of a secondary school that time, and therefore had that exposure to other Kenyans. And I started my journey as a true Kenyan and a patriot that way. I enjoyed Nairobi School for my A levels, 1981, which was a national school. And my perspective of Kenya broadened when I met Kenyans now from every part of the country. And that is when I discovered my very easy way of dealing with everyone, and literally every issue, and being very friendly and amiable with ease from people, Kenyans from all parts of the country. And indeed, my first friendships there, which persist to date, were mainly from Nyanza province. I completed my A levels in 1982, and unfortunately, there was the attempted coup that year. We had to wait for a good 2 years to join the university in September 1984. This, Madam Chair, is very important in the context of today, where we have so many anxious parents and children who have had to forego school now for many months due to the COVID pandemic. My message to them is there is hope. It has happened before. We waited for 2 good years. because of that nasty experience to join university. And therefore we became the first Kenyans, young men, to join the National Youth Service as we awaited to join the university. It was useful training, just like happens to policemen and the military, for discipline purposes. And I enjoyed the experience for the months we were there. And in September '84, we joined the university. Early 1985, it did not take long before we had one of the so-called Mwandawiro riots. I think they are so infamous in the manner in which they were suppressed by the armed forces, because so many of us were injured. Even I think we lost a few students in that riot. The students were in full military uniform from the National Youth Service in participating in that riot. It was nasty. And we found ourselves at home for almost another 8 months, reporting to the chiefs and with directions that no one should remain in Nairobi and we should all take our uniform to the chiefs in the village. And that is what happened. We were reporting daily, every morning, to go and just sit at the chief's camp until we were recalled back at the university. So cumulatively, that group lost about 3 years of learning. We were weary, exhausted. In 1986 was a very profound year for me because I lost my mother in a terrible road accident. She was my anchor. And no sooner had I come back from saying bye-bye to her, I was confronted by a rainbow of students who demanded that I was going to be their chairman. And they were led mainly by a rainbow of Kenyans, mainly led from Nyanza province. From there, I started a journey which I had never envisaged. I was elected chairman of SONU. I campaigned on a platform of peace with a difference, because the students were weary and they told me, we want to go home, we want to start our careers, we want to leave the university. Unfortunately for me, we had fresh students also who had never experienced a riot, and they really wanted to test action, as it was called those days. And so I faced very fierce opposition, and I had a very worthy opponent but I won that election with a big majority. I was to face the first election petition in the history of Nairobi University. My election was challenged, and a petition panel was constituted by the council. And I remember, and if I recall well, it was chaired by the retired Supreme Court Judge, Jackton Ojwang. I was successful in that petition, and I continued with my leadership. And I introduced many welfare initiatives, and I was able to see my year through up to the time I went to the Kenya School of Law. And some of those initiatives were hilarious, including the the double dialogue menu. For those of you who don't know what dialogue is, it's chapati. And so I went to the Kenya School of Law, and that was a chapter in my life which again shaped my future, my career, which I embarked on as soon as I joined School of Law. I was a pupil at the firm of Vora and Gitau Advocate. I was in very good hands of Mohindra Singh Vora, the advocate and the founder of Sarova Hotels. And in him I learned great qualities of servant leadership, which I espouse to date. He walked me in that year like his own child through paces of career nurturing. I was also in the same firm with Wahiga wa Maura, who was an associate there, a very staunch Christian and advocate of repute in the country, father to the Citizen Anchor. And in their hands, I started my career as a young advocate quite well. I joined the firm as soon as I was admitted. I joined the firm of Kioko and Company, advocates a use building, where I started the very robust practice in civil and criminal litigation. It was a very busy firm, and Mr. Kioko was completely hands-off. He left all the work to me and Mr. Okubo and the other associates assistants who were there. So I was admitted into the bar in the morning, and the same afternoon I was to conduct a serious commercial dispute before Justice Shields. That's how I started my career. And so my courage, my practice from day one was very well anchored. Kioko is today a judge of the African Court of Peoples and Human Rights at Arusha. And after exactly 1 year, one morning, Mr. Kioko came to the office and told me, Matthew, I have been appointed as the head of legal by the African Union, AU, and I'm leaving in a very short time. I want you to talk to all the clients you've been serving, and he said the same to Okubo and others, and I will allow you to, if the clients so wish, to take over all that work because I'm leaving. And that is how I found myself very quickly into my own practice at a very tender age. That's how it happened. And I cut my teeth, mainly doing very many cases in Machakos, Kitui, where a lot of work was, and many parts of Kenya, because it was a busy practice which I took over with my colleagues. And so I was very well anchored in litigation at a very young age. And soon my clients pushed me in a direction which led me to defending the leading lights in the second liberation of Kenya. Because we had forged very close relationship with Kadango, George Anyona, Professor Oyugi, Godho Kariuki, who I came to defend for a whole 1 year in the corridors of this building, largely on pro bono basis. It is in that moment when I encountered our Chief Justice Emeritus, Mutunga, Justice Mutunga. who sat with me for many hours right at the back of me as I did my defense of that case. Under the leadership of Paul Moite, Senior Counsel, Muturi Kegano, Charles Nyachai, with whom we mounted a very formidable defense. It was a case of Kenya for Kenya. Again, I experienced in that moment, I experienced profound servant leadership that Honorable Justice Mutunga found a lot of time to sit with me and to guide me in that process. Senior as he was, I believe, with the Ford Foundation then, which also played a key role in supporting that process, which we embarked on for almost 1 year. Young as I was, at 28 years, I was given key roles in that trial, including the conduct of the trial within trial, including making an application for recusal of the team from the DPP's office. After we came to our attention that they were complicit in the extraction of the confessions in the Nyayo chambers. We also made an application for an inspection in loco at Nyayo House. And that immediately overnight led to the gazettement of Nyayo House as a security zone, because there was vehement denial that there were no cells in the 9th floor and the basement of that building where those confessions were extracted. And so we were unable to, the court was disallowed all our applications, including they admitted those confessions which were taken in those dark cells. And of course, it came to pass, they were convicted and sentenced to many years. Those days, it was not easy to get to proceedings to mount an appeal. And so, again, I was tasked with that duty of getting the proceedings typed as quick as possible. It was not easy. And again, I encountered servant leadership from yet another Singh, Kata Singh, who volunteered his